Well, hey, my name is Ryan Earnhardt from CreativeSoundLab.tv, and today I'd like to do just a short episode. I have a lot of things going on this week, and to be honest, I want to give you a few quick pointers on something that's really important to me, and I think will really help you out as well. And it's really 3 reasons why you can be making bad recordings, and really ultimately how to fix it, how to avoid these 3 things that can be causing you to make bad recordings. Now, there's tons of philosophies on this, and people on the forums are talking, and you hear all these crazy answers, and you hear everything from, well, I just need to upgrade my gear, and maybe it's for like the 3rd time you have to upgrade that gear, or maybe it's that you have like bad studio monitors, or maybe it's something else, right? Like your converter or something. Well, to be honest, I've been making recordings that sound pretty decent for a while now, and it's before I have the gear that I have now. It's never really affected me, and so it's always been on some principles other than upgrading gear to acquire a good sounding recording. And so I just want to encourage you. It doesn't always have to be about the gear. The gear can definitely help. The gear does make a big difference. In fact, I would say that the gear makes engineering specifically, and also mixing too, but if you have a great microphone, it's pretty hard to mess up. But if you have a poor microphone or a budget microphone, you can still make great recordings, but it will take a little bit more nitpicking to make sure that the sound is right on. You have to really kind of watch it. And there may be some times where a mic doesn't quite work as well for another vocalist as it did maybe one before it, and you just gotta really stay on top of things. So you could almost say that a really good chef can cook any cut of steak. Anybody can cook a porterhouse, but it's the really good chefs that can cook your cheap cuts of meat, okay? And this is where we have barbecue, right? Barbecue here in the United States, it can be a love affair for some people, but it's usually with cheap piece of junk cuts of meat. And, it does take some love and some passion and time, but it can be amazing food with just the right amount of technique and love and passion. And so really, you can make recordings with whatever you have, I believe. You do have to have a few basic things, a microphone, a cable to plug it in, a way to get the sound into your computer and record it, and of course listen to it. But none of those things should really hold you back. So here are my 3 ultimate things for making good recordings. As long as you have these concepts, you should be able to make recordings that you're really happy with. The first one is savor that mid-range, the mid-frequencies. These are the frequencies where the vocals sit. So I have down here, keeping the mid-range accurate. So this is why when I apply EQ a lot of times, I usually don't go for like, a boost or something. I usually go for either, a high pass or low pass filter. And using the filters, I can go and sweep very gently, but usually it's on the extremes, and I either do a low pass or a high pass. Those, in my experience, are really, really effective. The second you start messing with weird curves, usually when you see a picture of like a plugin, EQ plugin, they actually have these crazy EQ curves. I don't know who does that, to be honest. That's just something that you see in magazines. In real life, you'd never see that. At least I don't. If I start doing that, that means, hey, we gotta just redo this recording. It is so poor. The only exception to that would be if there's some weird overtones or ringing and I can't get it out, so I'm doing very sharp, very tight Q cuts on very certain frequencies. Maybe the low end of a snare drum. But in general, I leave the mid-range alone. Another exception would be maybe with the EQ-PWA by Warm Audio. The thing is just a tone shaping device, and so I really like just kind of messing around with the tones in that. And that's the first time actually Before I got those, I actually never messed with the mid-range. I was very a low profile. I didn't really mess with EQ that much. So savor that mid-range. The mid-range is king. There's a saying that says the song is king, and that is true. But I think for engineering, amongst engineers, I think the mid-range is king. If you got good lows, hey, that's a plus. If you got good shimmering highs, that's a plus too. But everybody will be able to hear that mid-range, from iPod earbuds to hi-fi systems. That mid-range is the glue that holds everything together. It's kind of like the snare drum of the drum set. It's that glue, the lows from the kick, about 100 hertz, and then the highs from the snares, bridging to the hi-hat. It's the mid-range. So we have vocal, snare drum, we have upper mid-range of bass guitar, of course electric guitars, everything. That's where all the good stuff is. So don't mess with it, okay? Don't mess with it, just leave it alone. Try not to EQ the mid-range. The second thing is monitoring too loud. So this is the second thing that you can be doing to make a bad recording, is by constantly cranking the volume. Now, there is something to be said that if you keep turning up the tracks in your DAW and you're clipping the tracks, or you're recording too hot, then yeah, by all means, turn up your monitors so that you don't find yourself doing that, because then your ears will be like, oh wow, it's really loud in here. Let's not keep, pushing, like if you have an interface like me, let's not keep pushing those faders too hard, because, maybe it's just a subconscious thing if you always want it a little louder, right? So I guess that's okay, but it really is a discipline. You really got to think about, okay, the lower volume that I can get, the more bigger picture that I can see of my mix. It's kind of like stepping back from a painting, and you can really see the full picture. But when you get up close, you see globs of paint and brush strokes, and it's hard to tell what's going on. And that's essentially what we do when we turn it up. We really zoom in our ears so we can hear every little detail. But when we turn the volume down, we kind of step back from the painting and we say, oh, I see how it's working out now. And oh, I hear that, wow, that hi-hat is like really loud. Maybe I should turn it down. I don't know, but it really helps you get a better picture of what's going on in the mix. Also, you have the Fletcher-Munson effect, and it kind of wigs your ear out to where you can't actually tell what's going on in the low frequencies. You hear a little bit more low end at lower volumes. So you really have to make judgments as whether something sounds good or not at low volumes. So hey, let's check out the drum sound. Let's see what kind of drum sounds we're getting. Awesome. Let's make the call at low volumes. If we like how it sounds at low volumes, it's gonna really rock at high volumes as well. So low volumes always sound good. At high volumes, the reverse is not always true. The third thing is don't rely on mixing to fix your sounds. So this is the third thing that can cause you to make a really bad recording. If it's not right, fix it. Get over there, change the mic out, change the position of the mic, put a piece of foam around the mic. I don't care what you have to do, but try something. This is the time to really EQ the sound. Proximity effect, the closeness of a directional microphone to a source. Essentially you get more low end as you get closer, and so that's the time to add in your low end if you need it. Do you need to tame the highs? Well, maybe try shifting and pointing the mic a little bit off to the side so it's not pointing directly at that guitar cabinet. That's a time to make a slight dip in the high end. That's your EQ chance there. And somebody once said that there's really no free lunches in sound. I forget who it was. I see the guy's face, but I forget his name. But there's really no free lunches in engineering. You have to really do a fix. And then once you record that sound, now everything that you do, you're going to have some side effects. When you add EQ, you're going to have some phase shifting. And the more that the phase gets shifted around within that sound, the more it begins to kind of break apart. And then you start finding that it doesn't translate well to, an MP3 rendering, or it doesn't translate well to a small system, or earbuds. And so now we start to see how this takes effect. And so the success of your recording actually begins with your willingness to, hey, walk back in there, change the mic, because the less you can mess with the sound later, the more it's really going to hold up and translate to any system that you want to play your music on. So once again, the three things are mid-range, not keeping the mid-range accurate, messing with that mid-range. That's number one. Number two is monitoring too loud. You're just cranking it up constantly. Your ears are getting fatigued. Eventually, you can't tell what's right side up and what's good or bad. Loud sounds don't always sound good soft, but soft sounds will always sound better loud. And then three is relying on the mixing to fix the song. Don't fix it in the mix, fix it at the mic. AEA actually has a video, I don't know if it's a video series or a blog, but they always talk about fixing it at the mic, and I love that. I have an AEA microphone, I use it every single session, and really it's so true. You really have to fix it at the mic if you want to get a great sound. So I'll see you next week.